feel like we need to hang on to everything purely because we don't know what that next child's gonna like or what they're gonna need. And I don't consider myself a minimalist. I don't think with kids you can be a minimalist because it allows for more space in my mind and in my heart and in my soul. And I need that to be able to show up. And then we can get out on that walk that we wanted to go on versus spending 2 hours trying to clean up the living room, and we miss out on that opportunity to connect. Welcome to the Slowish Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis. I'm a mama to 2 little girls and a parenting coach. It's become my mission to help families rekindle connection, to rebuild relationships on a foundation of safety and trust, and to give parents the tools they need to show up with empathy and compassion, no matter what situation may arise. If you are craving slowness, peace, and joy in your parenting, you've come to the right place. Alrighty, let's get into today's episode. So today's episode, we are going to be talking about minimalism and how this is helpful as a parent. Now, I know this might kind of be like out of left field. Like, wait, how does minimalism and parenting have anything to do with each other? But I have found this to be an essential part of me being able to create space in my life so I can show up as a parent that I want to be. And so I want to share everything that I've learned with you, a bit of my journey and my story. So I hope that this encourages you. I hope that it helps you to rethink how you're doing things, how much stuff is in your home, how it's affecting you, all of that, because I think that it is such a useful tool in helping us to calm overwhelm and anxiety, bringing that peace and calm into our home, because I really don't believe that those things can exist in an environment that is really overstimulating. I think that when we look at our home, our environment, our bodies, what we're eating, a very holistic approach, I think that this all plays a really big part in how we are able to parent our children. And so you'll probably be seeing a lot more content like this. Things you're just like, how does that even go together? But it does. It really does. It makes a huge difference. So my minimalist journey actually started about 7 years ago, around the time my husband and I got married. I had gotten onto a documentary kick, and the Minimalist documentary came out on Netflix, and I watched it and I was so intrigued because I was like, wow, these people have gotten rid of their anxiety and the overwhelm, and they live these beautifully simple lives, and they love what they have. Like, I want that. And so we had decluttered and gotten rid of a ton of things. But I got to be honest with you, there was a lot that I felt like I wasn't ready to get rid of. I felt like I couldn't be one of those extremists where I had 4 forks and, 4 plates and, 2 coffee cups. Like, I couldn't do that. And so it kind of evolved over time. I remember when we moved into our first actual home. We had lived in apartments prior to this point, but we moved into our first home and we were like, wow, we have so much space. And we really tried our best not to fill it with extra things that was unnecessary. And we did that for a while, and then we had our first daughter. And looking back, I really thought I had a minimalist baby registry, but wow, did we get a lot of things that totally felt unnecessary. We had so much clothes. That is like, if you're listening to this and you've gone to a baby shower recently, or you are going to be invited to a baby shower, maybe I should say it that way. Don't buy clothes. Or if you do buy clothes, buy them for 2T plus. We are showering these mothers with love, so to speak, but instead we're showering them with, oh, here is so much stuff that you did not ask for, that you do not need, but here, let me overwhelm you as a mom. Here you go. Here's all these things. And I think that, this consumer mentality of, you need this next baby thing. If you want to get your baby to sleep, you need the Mamaroo. I think that's what it's called. Something like that. Anyway, the snoo, that's what it is. The snoo. The Mamaroo is something else. I don't know what that is. I've heard of it though. Anyway, the snoo. I was totally under the impression after I had Josie, my second daughter, that I was going to need this snoo to keep her to sleep. And like, that just takes away from our motherly intuition. If you want to learn more about motherly intuition, by the way, I just did a podcast episode a couple of episodes ago, but I'll link it below for you guys. And you know, I think that that's what that does. It strips our intuition when we start relying on these contraptions to soothe our children. You know, it takes us away from what we were created and meant to do as moms. This doesn't mean that these tools can't be helpful or useful. And if you have a snoo, I totally don't care. I think that's awesome if your baby sleeps. My children did not sleep. So I would do anything to get my children to sleep. But I think that minimalism, it needs to be approached in a family by family, parent by parent basis. You know, for me, I mean, my kids really struggled with sleep. Maybe I should have thought about getting the snoo, right? Like maybe that's what I should have thought about. Maybe that would have been really important and that would have really benefited us versus the bouncy chair that they only used once or twice. Like it's those kinds of things. It's like, okay, let me really evaluate here. What's going to bring value to our family? What's going to be most helpful instead of having all the things? And here's the kicker with baby things. Just because something works for one child does not mean it works for both children or all, 7 children, however many children you have. And so it's like we start to feel like we need to hang on to everything purely because we don't know what that next child's going to like or what they're going to need. And I think I found they need a lot less than we think. And I think that the other thing with minimalism and the reason why I struggled to do this episode was because I don't consider myself a minimalist. I don't think with kids you can be a minimalist. They kind of just require a lot of stuff. But it was actually one of our therapists had come in for Josie and she's like, yeah, you totally have a minimalist home. And I'm like, my home? No. As I'm looking, I have stuff all over and I am continually getting rid of and decluttering things because it allows for more space in my mind and in my heart and in my soul. And I need that to be able to show up as a confident, happy, joyful, not overwhelmed parent. And so I would encourage you, if you are pregnant, like with your first or with your third, you are going to be getting a lot of stuff. And it's like, do I really need that stuff? That's something that I think we need a lot less of than we think. But how does minimalism help us parent our children? Well, it causes less overwhelm for them and less overwhelm for us. And I think that is the two keys here. My girls, I did an experiment. So I took out all of our toys from the living room because I was tired of our living room looking like a playroom. And I only kept 4 things that I thought they played with the most. But when I took everything downstairs, I put it into it's like an office space / playroom kind of that I'm in right now. And that's where all the toys are. And I just felt like as we were upstairs, like the kids were playing longer. They would pick up their toys. Well, I say they, my oldest would pick up her toys. She would play longer. They would play together better. They would share better. And when I had to go pick things up, it took like a minute versus taking literally an hour to pick up all these little million tiny little piece things. And it was like, yes, this is helping me. This is helping me. And so as I've, I guess in this past year, as I've become on this healing journey, I mean, I'm ready to get rid of even more things. And I think that that's kind of the process with minimalism. I think that there are some people who are able to completely get rid of everything in the beginning. But for me, it's been this kind of slow process of, okay, I'm ready to let go of this. Oh, this thing doesn't really bring me joy. I thought it did, but it doesn't, and I don't think that minimalism looks the same for every person or every family. I think that minimalism for, me, like I don't need a lot of decor, but I do like a few nicer pieces. Like I enjoy that. I think it's about really helping us to get back to the things that we enjoy, the things that we love, making more space, time, money for all of those things, and to be able to do the things that we actually enjoy doing, which may be playing with our kids, which helps us to then connect with our kids. So for me, minimalism and parenting go completely hand in hand, because if we are spending less time cleaning and maintaining and deciding what to do with all of our stuff on a daily basis, we're going to have more time to connect and enjoy and show up with peace and calm as a parent. So with all that being said, I'm going to keep looking at my notes here because I'm starting to get off topic. I want to share 4 things that I believe that we can really learn from minimalism as a parent. And so the first thing is focusing on essentials. This not only is going to help to reduce the clutter, but it is my number one go-to tool when I'm working with clients. I'm like, hey, what's going on in your house? What's the state of your house? You know, I love when people say, like, what's the state of your diaper bag, or what's the state of your purse? Because it's so true. The state of the purse is the state of the person. So although it really doesn't matter per se how much stuff one of my clients has, it's important for me to understand, you know, where they are at. And I mention often, like, hey, is that space feeling overwhelmed to you? And if so, how could you make it less stressful? And just even like recently, we got the girls 2 new juice cups, and those are the only 2 cups they use. We got rid of all the other cups that, you know, was a Christmas cup and a cup from this event and here and there, and they just kind of started piling up. And so I ended up just throwing them all away, and we keep track of the 2 because we only need 2. And like before, if we lost one, it was like, oh, we'll just pick up another one. And now we have 37 dishes to do versus 1 dish, you know? So I think that it's really important to focus on those essentials, keeping them, and learning what is an essential. I actually learned from, I can't remember her name. I think her name's Erin here on YouTube. But she talked about how she put like a bunch of things in her garage that she like wasn't sure if she still really needed. And then if she needed it, she would go out to the garage and grab it. So I tried this, and I was shocked that like there was only 2 things in there that I actually really needed. And I was like, okay. The rest of those things are not essentials. So sometimes doing something as extreme as that may help you to decide, okay, is this something we really need? Is this just taking up space? Because if it's taking up space in your home, it's also taking up some mental space, which as a mom, we don't need any extra mental space taken up. Okay. Number 2, you want to keep what brings you pure joy. And so there are a couple pieces that are coming to my mind right now. One is this menu that I got from Magnolia Table when I went with my mom and my aunt. And this trip was probably the funnest trip I had ever gone on. I had so much fun, not only because I love Magnolia and I love Chip and Jo, but because the memories that we made, the 3 of us, were, I mean, out of this world. We had so much fun. And so this is actually hung up in my kitchen, and every day I look at it and I'm remembering that trip and how much fun I had. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. You guys know me. I get emotional over things randomly, but just those memories are coming back. And so every time I look at it, I'm remembering that trip. And so I think that figuring out what things bring us joy will actually help us to appreciate what we have. And by modeling that to our kids, they are also going to start appreciating what they have. If they only have 5 toys to play with, they're going to much more appreciate those toys than if they have 100 toys. It's kind of just, I'll just throw this here and throw that there. And that's what started to happen with our daughters. You know, they just kind of threw things around. They didn't really play with things anymore. It was just kind of like, oh, it's just another toy, you know, and I wanted them to be very intentional. I wanted them to take care of their things. Which actually leads me to my next tip or step, or I don't know what this is. My next thing with what minimalism can teach us is that minimalistic toys are actually really good for our children's development. And okay, now before I say minimalistic toys, I'm kind of thinking more of like the Montessori style toys, but I also want to key in here that just because something is minimalistic to me doesn't mean it's minimalistic to you. I like to think of these toys as very open-ended play. You can do many things with them. One thing that my girls love is like a ribbon. They play with this ribbon all the time. Another thing that my girls play with every single day, pretty much all day, is magnet tiles. They're not minimalistic to me, but because they bring my kids so much joy and they play so much, it's open-ended play. I think it's great. So we just have a basket and we throw all the magnet tiles in when we're all done, and it works out great. Like, I don't mind having magnet tiles, but we had these little people. I'm sure you guys know what they are, the little plastic little people, and the kids never played with them, never once. We had a whole bin of them, and one day I was like, we just need to donate these because they are not, I would think that they would, inspire some, open-ended play, but it really didn't. They were really bright and colorful. And I think that these kinds of toys help to, the kind of minimalistic toys help to really take that overstimulation down. Just like there are people who will argue that, if a child watches a certain TV show that isn't bright and flashy, their brain is less overwhelmed. And honestly, when I'm observing my children, that is 100% true. So yeah, I think that knowing what toys you want to keep, also knowing your child's interests, observing them, observing what they really like is going to help you to decide, okay, are these toys serving me? Are they not serving me? Are they helpful? Do they bring my child joy? Just because to me it's not considered a minimalistic item doesn't mean that it's not going to be for you or for your child. I think that going back to number 2, keeping what brings your child joy is going to be the most helpful part of encouraging them to take care of their items, to actually play with them longer, and it'll really inspire them to be more appreciative of what they have. So this actually leads me to my next one, which is when there is less, it allows us to make room for what matters most. And so I think that when there's less stuff, like so an example is we're playing with magnet tiles and there's magnet tiles all over the living room. Yes, they're all over the living room, but we just have a basket that we're sliding around and throwing them all into. It takes maybe a minute to pick them all up. It's not overwhelming. It's not difficult. And then we can get out on that walk that we wanted to go on versus spending 2 hours trying to clean up the living room, and we miss out on that opportunity to connect and to go on this walk and to get nature and to feel grounded. And so I think that these 4 things are why minimalism is so important for parents. I think that as we model what we have in our home and what we take in and how we treat our items and all of that is really going to show them how to handle the stuff they have, how when they get older, really appreciating the items that they do have will help them in the long run. It'll help them to feel less overwhelmed. It'll help them to feel, less burnout, less, all of that. And as parents, and I feel like that's what we're grooming children who are one day going to become parents. We want to give them that foundation to lay on. We want to allow them to start growing on that foundation of, calm and safety. And I feel like minimalism helps us to get there. So if you are a mom that is overwhelmed, I hope that you will start looking into minimalism. I have a couple of YouTubers that I absolutely love, and they've been my go-tos for minimalism. My first and foremost is Madison Gray. I love her. I love her content. It just always brings me joy, and I think she's amazing. So definitely check her out. If you liked this podcast, you will absolutely love her. The second person, her name is Erin. I cannot remember her last name, but I mentioned her earlier, and I will link both of them below. But I would go check them out. They will really help you in the minimalist journey. So I hope that this episode encouraged you to maybe think about becoming a minimalist. No, but maybe just declutter. Just lessen the amount of stuff in your home and how that could really serve you as a parent. So I'm curious, is there an item that if you were to become a minimalist, or maybe if you are a minimalist, that you just like, it is not a minimalist thing, but you are keeping it? For me, it's my craft stuff. I have a bin of craft stuff that I just am not able to part with because I love my crafts so much. So if you have that item, comment it below. But yeah, I hope this video is helpful, and I will see you guys in the next episode.